here with S3 Magazine at the Talladega Superspeedway, and here we have Kelsey Rowlings, who is a professional drifter. She is a Formula Drift driver. She does all the events for Pro 2, and so today we're just here to have a moment with her and ask her a few questions.
My name is Kelsey Rowlings, and I drive Formula Drift Pro 2. We've been driving for about 10 years now, 3 in the Formula Drift series. I got into drifting in 2008. It was back when I was going to college and I needed to get my first car. I decided to get a 240 SX. Of course. And I started taking it out to the drift car meets and made a bunch of friends where I would borrow some wheels, borrow a helmet, go out to the drift events. And my dad did not know at the time when I originally started drifting. He wasn't too thrilled about it. But eventually he found out, and now he's the crew chief for the team, and we've gone from a stock little 240 to a built monster. So yeah, we're just trying to have fun and work our way up to FD Pro 1.
Cool. I kind of want to go in on your dad a little bit because obviously he's a huge part of your team and what you're doing. So when he first found out, it's really a movie plot. We were talking about it yesterday. It's like a movie plot. So she's this girl that, you said you rode horses, so she rode horses for a long time, and now here she is in this huge motorsport that's direct in the car scene in general and all of the world pretty much. It's taking over. So when he found out that you were getting involved in that, what was his reaction? I know you said that he didn't like it, but was it like you're not doing that anymore, or was he kind of optimistic about it?
There was a lot of hesitation. At first it was oh no, you can't drift, it's hard on the car, it's dangerous, like no. Then he found out that I was going out to the track anyway. I convinced him to come out and watch me one event, which after he left, I actually ended up crashing my car into the wall. December 13th, 2008. I totaled my car, and it turns out he had gotten me a helmet for Christmas that year. And he came to me, he said, I don't know if we should give this to you because you just totaled your car and I'm not sure I really want you doing this, but if we are going to do it, I want you to be safe. So ever since then, he's kind of come on board and he's really just made sure that everything has been running well and is safe for me to drive because that's really his main concern.
I don't think I've seen that video. Right here we have one of your S14s behind us, and I'm sure you have some other cars, so tell us about, some of the cars that you drive and what you got going on there.
Okay, so this is the car that I compete with in Formula Drift. It has a supercharged Ford 5.0 Illuminator. It's the only S14 swap of its kind. We did it completely custom, and there's actually a build thread on my website, driftchick.com, if anybody wanted to check it out. But other than this, my first year of Formula Drift, I drove my Pro-Am car, which is another S14 with an SR 2.2. That one makes just under 500 horsepower. And we realized our first year of Formula Drift that power
SR's
level
not gonna cut it.
It just doesn't cut it.
Not anymore. It would have back in the day, but now
right, and we could have pushed it more and more, but then we run into reliability issues, and part of being competitive is being reliable. So that car has become more of a just practice car, demo car, and then I have another S14 with an SR that is my daily driver. So I have 3 S14 Zinkies. I'm a little bit obsessed.
Okay. So what is it about the S14 or the S chassis in general that's so appealing to you that you keep coming back to?
Well, first of all, they're just very good drift cars. With very little they can drift, and they kind of hold a soft spot in my heart just because it was my very first car. It was a 1997 240SX was my very first car. So ever since then, I've just only gotten 240s. I owned one E36 in my life, but I just keep coming back to the S14.
Awesome. So, what do you think is next for you in the world? Do you want to go Pro 1? Are you happy where you are? Where's the competitive side of you taking you next, or where do you feel like it is?
I do want to work my way up to driving Pro 1. Now that we have this car to where we feel like it's getting more dialed in, and I am feeling more competitive, I do want to make the jump to Pro 1 in the next couple of years. I'd also love to get more into stunt driving and maybe doing some movie type stuff.
Cool.
But it's all in time and a process.
Right.
I still do work a job as well, so it's kind of hard to fit it all in. But I would like to go up to Pro 1.
Right. So I guess that kind of just opens up the elephant in the room. What's it like being a female in a predominantly male, or motorsports in general? You don't ever see it, and when you do, it seems like it's someone who really likes to make it known that they are a female driver, but you seem to be different. You're not the female driver. You're like, I'm just a driver with the other guys. So what's it like for you? Do you feel like you've been treated any differently? How has that affected you in any ways?
I think there always will be slight differences in maybe how I'm treated, but for the most part, drifting is such a chill motorsport. Everybody who's involved in drifting, it's more of a family environment. Everybody kind of takes care of each other. You break apart, you go to another team, like, hey, do you have this spare? And everybody tries to help each other out, and I don't think being a male or female has any difference in that. When you're in the car and you're driving, nobody can tell if you're a guy or a girl.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it really comes down to the driving. And I love it. Everyone's very respectful, everyone's very kind, everyone's very accepting. So
Awesome.
Overall, it's great.
So of course, when you hear your car for the first time that I saw Kelsey was at Import Alliance in Atlanta when I saw you running out there. So the first time I heard the car, you immediately think LS swap, but it's not. How did that come into fruition? What made you go Coyote?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle. I had always been a turbo enthusiast, I'll say, running my SR car. I love that engine. But when we realized we needed more power, obviously we were looking at swaps people had already done, LS being one of them. And, another I was really interested in was the 2JZ. I love how the 2JZs sound. And I was actually leaning towards going 2J until we were able to work a deal to get the Ford engine in here. And I really disliked that so many people seemed to go LS. I didn't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
So I thought at least 2J would be a little more a little bit more original.
But it's not now.
But
everybody's running 2Js
we
now.
just had FD Seattle, and the whole podium was 2JZs.
2JZs, right.
So they're definitely competitive, but I still wanted to do something a little bit different. And after talking to Justin Pollock about his engine setup and how reliable it had been, I knew it was something that would be a good option for us. So
There's so many people that are either for the SR or against the SR. One person's like, oh, it's the most reliable Japanese engine that you can have, and then you have your other handful of people that's like, it'll blow up within 10 miles. What's your opinion on that?
There are definitely a lot of SR haters. I love my SR. Mine is maybe not your basic SR. Mine was built by Mazworks, and it's bored out to 2.2. It's sleeved. It can make up to 500 horsepower if we're running on a full boost setup. But I think with anything is, if you want to push it for more power and you don't build it for that, it's not going to be reliable. But if you build it for reliability and you keep that in mind, you won't be going and just blowing your motor on every lap and stuff like that. But I honestly love the SR. I think you're able to get really good power out of them, even on like a stock engine, especially for somebody who's just starting to get into drifting or getting competitive. It's a great engine, and I think that having a turbo car makes you have to be a little bit more attentive as far as keeping the car in boost, and it's almost more of you have to be more active when you're actually driving it. You know, a V8, if people do a V8 swap immediately, you can just step on the gas pedal and it's like a little safety, but in an SR you may have to, you know, clutch kick and be a little quicker with your footwork. So it's a different animal from, say, you know, the 5.0, but I love them and I think they're reliable.
So for you, it's not so much a competition engine as much as it is, this is my free time. It's a little bit wilder. It takes a little bit more attention. So
it's just fun to drive.
Yeah,
like,
I understand.
And it sounds crazy going around the track. You know, just a little four banger, just screaming. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously, as you can tell here, we're between two wheels right here, and these wheels are Koenig wheels. So how long have you been a Koenig driver, and what's Koenig like for you? Are they very supportive?
I love Koenig wheels. I switched to Koenig wheels last year, and one of the things I really loved about them is even with a tire mounted on, I am able to lift them up, you know? And I hate to be like, oh, I'm weak, I'm a girl, and stuff like that. I'm not the strongest person in the world. I think there are people out there who maybe aren't the strongest, but there are some really heavy wheels out there, and I just like the fact that they not only do they look great, but I can maneuver them and get them on the car myself, and they're just great.
So I assume you go through Scott, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Scott's the guy that we go through for our advertisement. He's an awesome dude, and he's really cool. He does a lot with drifters.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the grassroots guy, I can't remember what his name is, but like it wasn't even sponsored, but he ran it. He cracked all his wheels, so they just sent him a bunch of wheels. It's nuts. But
yeah, no, Koenig is definitely super supportive, and I think that, like, you know, Scott and everybody there, they're believers. You know, they see the dream, and if you have the, you know, the push to go for it, they support that. So
that's awesome.
Definitely great.
Yeah.
And he's got two cute kids. So
that's what I hear. I think it's funny because Scott started a podcast called Behind the Wheel. So we're between two wheels, but he's behind the wheel. And he talks about social media, and it's super crazy because, you know, he's like, I didn't feel comfortable. All these people coming up to me at car events talking about my kids, and I don't even know them. So he's like, I had to like hide my Instagram. He's a cool dude. I enjoy talking to him. But yeah, so you have the Koenigs, but of course you blow through tires all the time. What's it like to have a tire sponsor and know that you don't have to worry about that? Who's behind you with tires?
So Achilles is super supportive with the tires and everything. They are part of the Formula Drift racing program. So they give us really great discounts, and they come out to the track and they mount the tires for us. So it's really convenient because they basically deliver them. And like the 123s, the grip is absolutely insane. Like you just get on it and like you just go. Like I don't even know how they make that happen, but they are so grippy, and I get to go so fast, and it makes me so excited.
Just out of curiosity, let's say for example Atlanta or even OSW, about how often do you blow through tires running your Coyote?
I would say I would average about 2 laps per set. Sometimes I can squeeze out a third lap. If it's, you know, Orlando Speed World, sometimes I can squeeze out that third lap, but towards the end there, you start feeling the grip levels go down. But I mean, you have to consider how fast we are spinning these tires, and with the amount of grip. So we definitely go through a lot of tires.
I like how you said how fast you're spinning the tires. It kind of takes me back to when Formula Drift started. I think it was back in 2004, 2005 is when they first kicked off the whole Formula Drift thing. And back then, you know, it was a lot of SRs and stuff like that. 3, 4, maybe 500 horsepower cars. And now, if you're not pushing practically 1,000, you can't even keep up. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that it should be back in the old days where it's just a bunch of S13s with SRs? Or do you think that where it is today in the crazy 2Js and 1,000 horsepower LSs and everything, do you think that that's where it's supposed to be now?
Well, I think it's good for a sport to evolve. I still am like a huge fan of back in the day, and obviously I drive my SR car all the time, and it's a lot of fun. I do think there's a place for lower powered cars and drifting, and say out in Texas they have like a more of a street legal series out there where they try to encourage more stock cars and lower power, just to kind of even out the field, so to speak. But this has now become a professional competitive motorsport, and I like to go fast. So I honestly don't mind that the sport has evolved into what it is.
Yeah.
It certainly has raised the bar, but I think that if we want to be taken serious as a sport, the sport has to evolve.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So outside of drifting, of course, every drifter has a personal life. You started out as a hobby doing it behind your dad's back, and it became your passion, and then into sort of a profession. What do you spend your free time doing?
Free time. Well, I consider drifting to be, my part-time job. Obviously, I have some things that I have to do for sponsor arrangements, and I want to make sure that I keep all my partners happy. But outside of drifting, I actually do have another part-time job. So when I'm not traveling, competing, drifting, I do have to work and make some money. And I wish that drifting could just be this job that pays for itself, and I get to just live the fun life. But I work part-time at a horse farm.
Oh, wow.
And we have 35 horses at this horse farm. So I clean a lot of stalls. I'm constantly shoveling.
Nice.
I'm lifting hay bales, carrying water buckets and taking care of the horses, any cuts and scrapes. So it's a lot of physical labor, and I'm usually out there 9 or 10 hours starting at 6:30 in the morning. And that's what I do when I'm home.
That's crazy. Me personally, I wouldn't expect, going from drifting to working at a horse farm. So would you consider horses being another one of your passions?
Yeah, definitely. I've ridden horses for about 22 years. I started riding when I was 7 years old, and that was my first passion. I was very competitive with horses in high school, but then I found out about drifting, and I got more involved in the drifting, and my focus kind of shifted to that. But it's really convenient that I still have the skills with the horses, because my job at Barrett Farm, they're very lenient with me as far as like understanding that I do have the drifting as my other job. So they're able to work their schedule out with mine, and when I'm home, I'm working. If I'm not home and I'm at drifting, driving.
So do you compete with horses?
I used to compete with horses. I showed all through middle school, all through high school, and even in college. I was on the University of Florida equestrian team.
Cool.
So I did a lot of competitions, but again, the drifting was on the weekends, the horse shows are on the weekends, and my focus just eventually shifted to more of the drifting.
So you said you went to the University of Florida. So do you have a degree?
I do. I have a degree in English.
In English?
Yes.
Wow.
And they sent me my degree, and it's still sitting in the envelope they sent it to me in a drawer. I've never opened it. I've never looked at it. I don't even know if my name is spelled right.
Oh my gosh.
But once I graduated, I decided that I wanted to pursue the drifting, and I, just put it away and put everything else on hold, and now now my life is ruined.
There's so many people with stories like that around here. Like Wooly, the owner of our magazine, has a degree in psychology. So he graduated, and then the magazine that he worked for decided to sell it. He was like, I'll just buy a magazine. So he did, and then here we are 13, 14 years later. So it's weird how things like that happen.
Yeah. I figure, hey, while I'm young, I might as well do what I can, or try to pursue it, see if I can make a go of it, and if it doesn't work out, I have a degree to fall back on. So
yeah, that's true, but obviously you're doing pretty well for yourself. Yeah. Chasing your dreams. You're kicking ass out there. So
Thank you.
You're definitely. Do you think you'll hit Pro 1 anytime soon?
I'm hoping that this year I could, by the end of the year, have enough points or be in a position to qualify me for Pro 1. I don't know if I would make the jump immediately, just because it's very, very competitive, and it's a whole nother level of, 8 rounds instead of 4 rounds, and you have to make sure you have the partner backing to be able to do it, because I would not be able to afford to do it out of pocket. So there's a lot that comes into going into Pro 1, not just the skill level. So
just taking that into consideration, what do you think is a realistic amount of time before you might consider making the jump?
I would say maybe not 2019, but maybe 2020.
Well, there you go.
If I can make it work for 2019, I'm sure gonna try. But
Yeah, you're not gonna turn it down.
Right, exactly. But 2020, I think, is a realistic goal for me.
Cool.
So.
Awesome. Okay, so you travel across the country all the time. I have to know, do you have any funny stories?
There definitely have been funny stories. I'd say probably one of the most memorable. It's maybe not so much funny, more of a slight panic. But we were driving to Dallas, Texas, and it was me and my crew member, Tom Yeager, and it's a long drive from Orlando, Florida to Dallas, Texas. Probably took us about 21 hours. We were getting in really late at night. It's dark. We're tired after this long drive. We get to the track. We park the trailer, and we go to kind of check on everything and drop the trailer off. Go inside the trailer, and I look up, and I realize I can see the sky.
No.
Yes, I walk inside the trailer, and the roof of our trailer, the sheet metal, I guess it wasn't sealed that well around like that
Right.
leading edge, and it actually lifted up and peeled halfway back down the trailer. So my trailer became a convertible, and it ripped off the front vent, and the sheet metal was actually like torn, like flapping off the side. And
That's
we're traveling
crazy.
at night. We couldn't hear it. We couldn't see it. We didn't find out until we got there, and our last stop, maybe 3 or 4 hours beforehand, everything was fine. We went and checked the straps in the trailer, no problems. But yeah, once we got there, we had no roof on our trailer.
That's funny. Did anything else get damaged? Did it rain or anything and ruin anything?
It didn't rain. Everything was inside the trailer except I think we lost a tarp, because we have a little shelf at the top of the trailer, and we think a tarp might have blown out. But like, everything was fine. It didn't rain.
flashed.
No, nothing fell off that we know of. Hopefully nothing, the tarp didn't land on a car behind us and blind them. I'm not sure. But yeah, everything turned out fine, and we just got a bunch of metal screws and duct tape, and secured it for the way home, which was also interesting because on the way home that year was when we were being hit by Hurricane Irma.
Oh man.
So we were coming home just as Irma was going up over Florida.
With a giant hole in your trailer.
Yeah, and we're like, well, I hope we don't hit any rain. Shoot. But we managed to kind of just slip right underneath the hurricane and get home, and everything worked out. We took the trailer to get fixed, and now it's fine. But that was definitely an interesting realization when we got to Texas.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's nuts. I don't know.
the struggle, that and the multiple trailer tires, you kind of blow through. There's
Oh, yeah,
definitely
I can imagine.
incidents on the road, but
I've heard of people, trailer bearings going out. Have you ever had something like that happen, like a trailer
we
bearing?
haven't had a bearing go bad yet, but mostly just tires delaminating, or we get obviously like a nail or something.
Right.
One of our last trips, we had actually the front tire on the truck like spring a leak, or we got a nail or something, and we're driving along, and all of a sudden everything just starts shaking. I'm like, we're pulling over. you
Yeah.
know.
That's got to be scary to happen though when you're that far
Yeah.
away from home and it's just you and your team of, I'm sure you only have like 3 or 4 people that travel with you. So what's that feeling like? Do you have any? I'm sure you have like AAA or something that's there to help you, but
Yeah, we do have AAA, and we usually take a lot of spares with us. We have like 2 mounted trailer spares and then 2 unmounted. So if we ever run into an issue, we do have a tire changer. We can work something out, and we do have a spare tire for the truck. And I think along I-75 from Orlando up into Atlanta, I think the tire shops are very familiar with us at this point.
Yeah.
We've stopped at the same discount tire 3 or 4 times in the past
Discount tires are
2
a
years.
blessing.
Yeah, they usually have what we need, so
Awesome.
we look them up. But we've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had anything extremely
Major.
catastrophic happen. The roof was probably the most interesting thing, but
I've never heard that before. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, I take that back. I bought a brand new Focus ST. So I was super excited about it. Boosted front wheel drive, getting into the tuner scene, kind of hanging out, driving home on the interstate. Trailer peels off an 18-wheeler. wow, right into my front end.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Brent had like 4 miles on it. Killed me. But other than that, I've never heard of something like that happening. That's nuts. So thank you, Kelsey Rowlings, for letting us sit down. I know you're super busy giving people the time of their ride, the time of their life. God dang it, man.
The
You don't have to
time
say
of
that.
my
You're working on that
life.
Pause in case anybody wanted to add anything. Anything else? Any other sponsors you want to shout out or anything?
Would be a good question. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah.